Yes. Okay, here we
Okay.
go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Dallas in the house, and he is here already, so I'm not going to take a lot of time in doing these PSAs, so I'll try to breeze through them, everybody. But everybody, please be careful who you listen to and who you follow, what you're putting into your mind. We are in the fog of war, guys, and it's going to get more intense. So I know for myself, I'm going to really buckle down and who I'm going to be listening to and posting. I kind of already did that a little bit, but listening to one and some others, it's going to get really wackadoodle out there. So please, everybody, stick and stay with the people that have not led you wrong through the course of your journey here, because more than likely they're going to get you over the hump. Also, too, if you guys have a question for Dallas at some point in this podcast, please either raise your hand and I will unmute your mic at some point and you can ask Dallas your question, or his picture is on the wall there and you can write your question underneath the comment area and I will read those to him as well. Also, everybody, we are being listened to in over 100 countries. We're making some great noise, everybody. So please, if you come in late to this podcast or want to share it with somebody, please follow us on the podcast host or any of the social medias. It's iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. Social medias are Jenny Dreed Facebook, at Jenny Dreed, Instagram, oh no, excuse me, at Jenny underscore Dreed X, at J Dreed Rumble, at J Dreed True Social, at J Dreed Instagram, The Revival of America right here on Telegram, The Revival of America on YouTube, and then the official J Dreed over on TikTok. Also, to everybody, The Revival of America, I am celebrating the 5th season and over 400 episodes. It was July 17th, so that's a huge milestone for me because I remember how I started all this. I prayed about it for a year, and here we are. And we are just getting the growth is rapidly increasing. Like I said, we're in over 100 countries. So, with that growth, everybody, there will be a team that I will be assembling here for the Revival of America. So, I'm super stoked for that. So, I want to say thank you to all of you listeners that your consistency of wanting to know the truth, ask the questions. It's because of you that the Revival of America can be, and if it wasn't for you guys, there would be no Revival of America. So everybody, thank you for your continued support in that, just being here. Whoever show that you want to come in and listen to, or all of them, I truly appreciate that. Also, too, everybody, check out the website. The website is therevivalofamerica.com. Sign up for the newsletter. It is free. It gives you the latest updates on the podcast as well as the weekly show lineups with the guests and the times. So check that out. Again, therevivalofamerica.com. We have John Baxter's information on there. We have Carrie Kasem's information over there from Face and Beauty. We have a page for the children. It's a little bit under construction right now because we're going to switch over to a different carrier with the website because it's going to be a better website. Let's just say that. So we have a little bit more options to do over there. The merch store is there, so that is up and going as well. We are dropping things on a weekly basis and adding. We're deleting and adding every week, right, to see kind of what people like the best over there. So check that out also to everybody. And then if you have a journey or a story to tell, please reach out to me at the revival. No, excuse me. I'm bad about that. The Revival of America at yahoo.com. If you have a general question or just want to reach out, get John's information or just send me an email because you're concerned about something. I don't know. Just say hi. Send it to the Revival of America at yahoo.com. But for the submissions for your journeys or your stories, do it to TROA submissions at yahoo.com because all of the submissions were getting buried under my daily email, and I get a lot of those on a daily basis. So I created this one specifically for submissions, so you guys can just give me a synopsis of your story. I'll read it, get back to you. We do vet these stories, everybody, because unfortunately, just like everything, you have your scammers out there, right? Your trolls, people just wanting to, get their voice heard or whatever. So please be careful of the scammers or trolls. They are out there in full force. But yes, TROA submissions at yahoo.com. That's where you submit your story. And I am getting some stories, and no offense or anything like that, but for me, what I'm trying to do, like, I'm getting some companies that are like multi-level companies reaching out to me wanting to share that journey or whatever. I'm not a big fan of multi-level companies. I'm not going to be that person to work it. I'm just not. I'm more like looking to team up with people such as John Baxter with True Healing with his frequencies and technologies. That's his journey, his story, what he has done. Carrie Kasem with her Face and Beauty, where she came from, how she started that. She had Lyme disease, and then it just kind of, she got into the beauty industry with her skincare. So I want all kinds of, when it comes to the products like that, because I want to team up with people that are all natural products. Yes, a lot of these multi-level companies have the natural products. However, it's a company that want to come in here and have me try to sell it for them. That's not what I'm going to do. So I appreciate you thinking of me. I really do. The ones that have reached out to me, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be showcasing those because that's not what I'm trying to do. So I hope you guys understand that, but I have a little bit of a different direction of what I want to do with these companies, whether it be clothing, food, beverages, whatever it may be, skincare, hair care. Uh, I want to showcase those all natural companies that aren't multi-level. So just know that, and it's nothing personal. It's just I'm not a fan of multi-level companies, and yeah. So if I'm not a fan of something, I can't put it out there, right? So if I don't believe in it, then I can't do it. So it's not that I don't believe in the product. I just am not a fan of multi-level companies. So I've been there, done that, and not a fan. So just know that. So with that, everybody, Dallas is in the house. I'm not gonna take any much more of his time. He gives us 90 minutes of his time, everybody. So please be mindful of that when you ask the question, and we will get started. Go ahead, Dallas. How are you?
I'm good. See, I want to join my company.
Oh, what is your company
Just
multi-level?
kidding.
Ecole.
Just kidding.
Which company are you talking about? I thought you were just doing the you're doing your ministry, right? And then you're
Yeah, no,
doing your
I'm joking.
financial stuff.
Yeah, I'm joking. No, I
Oh,
was
okay.
just, it was just a poorly timed joke.
Well, I mean, you know me. I support you 100% in whatever you do. I just, with the multi-level, I've been there, done that, and it hasn't been a success for me. So, where it's been successful for me is just being an entrepreneur and owning my own businesses. So, to each their own, no judgment at all. But that's just not been a thing for me. I did well in mortgage and real estate when I did that. But trust me, I've had the multi-level experience, and it just hasn't been my
Mhm.
thing. But it may be your thing, maybe somebody else's, but it's just not my thing.
No, no, I'm with you. I mean, I do have some affiliates and things that are technically multi-level marketing, but I'm with you. I want to work with good people that have good products. And so, if you follow us on Hero, me and Trina, we have a partnership with the Mushroom Ladies. Those two are amazing. They're just amazing people.
Well,
Like
you're more like though an affiliate, right? Okay, so to me, like
correct.
a affiliate and a multi-level thing is, to me, in my mind, affiliate is where you're kind of just you're helping push out you're push out the product or whatever. You don't have to get the people on to do the business part of it, where you get one person or six people underneath you, and then they have to go, the legs that go down on it. That's not what
Yeah,
I'm a fan of, is those multi-levels. That, I mean, because if you think about it, and every job is a multi-level, right? You have the president, you have the vice president, and go on, but I'm just not. Well, if you want to make money, you got to get six people underneath you, then they got to get five under you. That's what I'm talking about. But if you're just like an affiliate and you're kind of pushing out the product, whatever, because I'm cool with that. But it's just, to like work it, and then you have to get all those people underneath you. That's what I'm not a fan of.
yeah, no, I know, I hear you. It was really a poorly timed joke. I'm sorry, but
No, you're
no,
good. You're good.
I'm good. I wanted to just tell anybody and everybody that prayed for safe travel and prayed for me and my family last week while we were. I mean, technically it was a vacation, but we drove for the third year in a row. We drove from Dallas, Texas, to Cape May, New Jersey, which is the very tip of New Jersey, for my wife's family reunion. The matriarch of her family, her dad's mother, is named Scotty. She turned 100 a few weeks ago, so we celebrated 100th birthday with Scotty, and it was really really neat. It was neat because my girls are now old enough that they have some very fond, like, rooted memories of Scotty. Because my girls are the oldest of the grandchildren, But we drove. We spent money on gas. We used points for a hotel on the way up there, and then we drove straight back. So we left. We left the house in Cape May at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, and we got to our house in Dallas, Texas, at about 9:30, 9:45 a.m. on Sunday. So we drove for 25 straight, 25, 26 straight hours coming back, but had a good time. We took our own food, took our own snacks, took our own groceries for the week we were there. So we didn't have to buy stuff at the grocery store there because it's inflated because it's a little beach town, but spent absolutely as little money as possible, but had an absolute great time. And I just appreciate all the prayers and the thoughts while we were traveling. But other than that, man, back in the swing of it. School's about to start, so it's kind of getting wound back up for that side of this crazy world we live in. But
yeah, it's crazy out there, but there's so much positive happening, everybody. I mean, look at what's going on with this whole Obama thing. He's being now referred to the DOJ for a criminal investigation. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, she is throwing it all out there, everybody. So pay attention. And you have CNN and all these people over there trying to spin the narrative, guys. So there's going to be these narrative spins. There's going to be the fog of war. It's going to get more intense. So, a suggestion that I heard was don't be so quick to jump on a post that you see and post it, even if it's from, somebody like, you really trust or whatever. Just hang tight a little bit, because I guess, like Juan was saying, unless you're hearing it from, like, say, Trump or something, just relax a little bit, because it's going to get wild out there. The confusion's going to get more intense, even for all of us. So just kind of kick back a little bit. That's why for me, I'm going to tighten up things a little bit, even more than what I have, and posting some certain things. I think I'm going to just stick to, like, obviously Trump, and his administration. And, but we're seeing a lot of these narratives being spun, and that, the MAGA movement's turned on Trump. That's not true. They're putting all these false stories out, with Trump and Epstein. They're not true. They're being debunked. Trump is going to be suing, I think it's a Wall Street Journal or somebody, or New York Times, about the letter they put out about him writing Epstein a letter. So
yeah.
just stay. That's why I say stay out of the noise, stay out of the minutia, because it's gonna get more intense. The fog of war, it's real, and it's here. So please, guys, be careful. Go ahead, Dallas.
Yeah, and just be mindful of AI, right? I mean, we had the big Gmail, Google, AI scam that's going around right now, where they actually hacked into the AI in Google. So Google is actually tricking itself. And I was in New Jersey, and my feed kept getting filled with all these images of the New Jersey Turnpike flooding with rain. And they did have rain. They had a lot of rain, and they had some flooding, but not what I was being sent, because I was in New Jersey. Like where I was in New Jersey, it never rained. It didn't rain the whole week we were there. We had great weather. The water was warm, which is unique because it's pretty cold up there. And so I really it kind of opened my eyes to, even I get sucked into, like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And you post something or you forward something, and then like, I was there. I was talking to people that were driving up and down the turnpike, and it wasn't flooding like what I was being sent. Now, did it flood like that 2 years ago? Yes. Right. But we just have to be really careful with what's going on. It's funny that you're talking about, CNN and MSNBC spinning the Obama thing when it's coming from Tulsi Gabbard. Like, she is, in all intents and purposes, a Democrat. She just is an intelligent one that sees life and sees the government for what it is. And I've always liked Tulsi Gabbard, even when she was a full blown Democrat. There was just something about her that I liked. She just is a straight shooter. She seemed to not ever, she seemed to just tell the truth, and I like that. And do I know her personally? Absolutely not. So I can't vouch for her on that level. But I think we are coming to a head. I read one of one of the comments was like, is this movie about to come to a close? I think we're getting towards the end. You know, I would have loved to think we were there 6 months ago, but I definitely think that it's ramping up, and we're about to have, you know, I mean, just think about the disclosure that's coming out right now. Obama spearheaded the whole Russia thing. It's been blamed on Hillary this whole time. It wasn't even her, right? You know, like, again, in this story, Hillary Clinton is kind of the innocent one. She's not innocent. Don't misunderstand what I just said. But the fact that Obama was the driving force, and let's be honest, Obama isn't the head of this thing, right? Like, Obama is just a puppet, like all the rest of them. But he was the one in charge when they started doing this stuff. And now I think we're finally going to see the handcuffs and perp walks and the public accountability that we've all been craving so much. And, you know, the more they talk about it, the more they try to downplay the Epstein, the more it gets spun in the media. You know, I mean, Epstein is a common word now in everyday news. It wasn't 3 weeks ago. It wasn't 3 months ago. Right? The only people talking about Epstein were us, right? And now everybody's talking about it. I watched the press briefing with the press secretary Monday, and you know, it was 20 minutes long. I watched about 12 minutes of it, but there are 5 or 6 questions from mainstream left-leaning news sources about Epstein. They're all clamoring. The Democrats are foaming at the teeth, you know, to get this list revealed when they're all on it. So I think we are coming to a crescendo of sorts. Now, is it going to be done in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or, you know, whatever? No, but I definitely think we're starting to see the fruits of our labor, if you will.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I do think coming in through the rest, you know, the summer end and into the holidays, I think we're really going to see some chaos, guys, with, you know, people seeing, you know, the Obama lovers, right, freaking out. So just be mindful, and just stay alert, right? So these crazies out there, I mean, they're already starting, the liberals, I call them libtards, but they're out there losing their minds and, you know, just spinning the narrative, right? So, and then, you know, I was in a space earlier this morning when and Speaker Johnson came in. He said a lot of great things. If you guys haven't heard it, you can go listen to it. I'm sure he was only in there for about 20 minutes, so you don't have to listen to the whole space. I'll look for it and post it on the wall. But in the course of him speaking and some of the questions that were being asked, which were all good questions, great answers that he gave. Actually, MJ Truth, he broke that down. I'll find that and I'll put it on the wall as well. But he also did say in the course of that, before he left that space, everybody, he said, you sometimes have to show the people so this never happens again. So everybody right there, he is telling you what we have been saying for so long, and so many others have been saying for so long. And central casting all the time, Trump says, and if you look up central casting, it's the biggest background of actors that, you know, that's what he's referring to, Trump, right?
Yep.
So you gotta pay attention to these things, because a lot of the Wag the Dog movie, it's a thing. It is real. If you haven't seen it, if you go watch it, because it will make sense right now. This stuff has already happened. It is just bringing out scene by scene by scene. Because like Speaker Johnson said, you sometimes have to show the people for it to never happen again, or for them to believe it, right? So they're telling us, everybody. So don't be excited. A lot of people are just tripping out and spinning this narrative to make people upset. Get excited, because we are seeing a lot of what Dallas said. The fruits of our labor are coming to fruition. Hashtag vindication.
and hold your ground, right? I mean, you know, when all this stuff, you know, with the Epstein stuff, I mean, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. I was very upset because you know, I've always had a slightly different stance on the children thing. The children are the most important part of this, but it goes back to Fauci, right? When it was discovered that back in the 80s, he was taking infants from the foster system in New York City and using them as experimental rats in his experiments, nobody batted an eye. But then we found out that he was doing experiments on beagles, dogs, and everybody lost their minds, right? I mean, when I say everybody, I mean everybody but us, right? And so they gotta find what's going to resonate the most. And I think Obama, my mom voted for Obama because she thought that he was a new JFK Jr. or senior, right? He's young, he can speak well, but they're both Democrats in her mind, even though their politics are completely different, right? But there are people that love him. What I'm seeing now this week is a huge flip on social media in the African American community on Obama, because they all bought into the lie, and so did a lot of white white leftists, of the change and all that stuff, and they are realizing that he did more harm to the racial environment of the United States than he did good, and he did a lot of really underhanded, dirty things to the United States. And so it's exciting, but we just got to hold our ground. I stand behind Trump. I don't always agree with everything he says and does. I'm not one of those, like, I wish he wouldn't tweet so much. I love the tweets because that's what opened this whole can of worms, right? If he wouldn't have tweeted and been so aggressive and been so mean in certain cases on Twitter in his first administration, we wouldn't know any of this stuff. None of this stuff would be public. But he used a media source that was unfiltered at the time, and he exposed all this stuff. If he'd have went through the mainstream media, then none of this stuff would have been exposed, because let's be honest, it was 97%, 98% negative from the mainstream media during his first term as president.
Yeah,
he had to find an alternative source, and he found Twitter until they kicked him off, and then that's really when the storm began. You know what I mean? So just stay the course, and I'm not a huge proponent of trust the plan and hold the line, because, well, as I've said before, none of us know what the plan is. The others are better at decoding Q posts and things like that, but I think we just have to stay true to ourselves, stay true to our motives, and just be mindful. I agree with everything you're saying, Jenny.
Yeah, at the end of the day, everybody, it's like Dallas says, nobody really knows, right? The plan, right? Except for the ones that are involved, and of course, God himself. Because at the end of the day, this is God. God wins. So focus, eyes on God, everybody. That's where I'm at. That's what I pray to every night, every day. Like Dallas says, I support Trump 100%. But at the end of the day, Trump, I believe, is as a tool being used, through with God. God is using, Trump to do his work, and I believe. I mean, we're seeing that. We're seeing that more and more on a daily basis. So I think that's awesome. So just continue, focus on. I focus on God, you guys, because that really, at the end of the day, that's what it is, and He wins this war. So. Yeah. So, so with that, what do you know? Because I know everybody's probably wanting to know about the RV world. I mean, we've got a lot of movement going on in the XRP and the financial world. With gold and silver. What are you seeing, if anything, in the RV world?
I think we're seeing all of the blocks, the building blocks of the new financial system being put in place. Right, we have Ripple with XRP, and Ripple has requested to buy the SIFT system, which is the new SWIFT system. They've chartered to become their own bank. We got all kinds of movement going on in Iraq and Vietnam. And sorry, my girls are playing a little rough outside, or outside the door. But I think we're seeing the building blocks being put in place right in front of us, right? And it's been happening over a very long period of time, right? Especially the last couple of years. But I think we're finally seeing the final stages of, okay, we have this ready, we have this ready, we have this ready. As far as the RV itself, similar to what I said 2 weeks ago, which frustrates me a little bit, but again, it's such a huge undertaking. But there is money moving at the highest levels of the bond side of this stuff. And that's what triggers everything else, right? The bonds have to go first, and they don't go to us. we're the last ones in the sequence of the bonds, but it's getting closer and closer. I was very optimistic about July, and unfortunately, I don't, well, I can tell you we're not going to see it in July. It's going to be August at best, but maybe September, towards the back end of August into September, when it really gets down to us possibly, and the redemption centers and all that stuff. But there is very big movement. There are testings taking place in redemption centers as we speak, and every day they, every time they add a new regulation or a new stipulation, or they discover some other way, because AI has been a huge problem in this transition, because the bad guys, the cabal, have been trying to use AI to infiltrate the new system. And so they are running into these new problems that they weren't necessarily anticipating. And so they write a new policy. Well, every time they write a new policy, they go through the testing in the redemption centers and things like that. So the banks are being brought online with Basel III and Basel IV compliance being put into place at the beginning of July. July 14th was the final culmination of ISO 222. Now the banks have no options. If they don't get in line with Basel III, Basel IV, and ISO 222, then they are gone. I mean, they are no longer allowed to be in business. So a lot of them drug their feet, a lot of them in the United States. And so they're all scrambling right now, which is awesome, but it's also very frustrating, right? Like, why didn't you guys just suck it up and do what you should, do what you knew you're going to have to do to begin with? But there is very positive movement happening from what I'm being told. But I think, July,
August, September,
yeah,
October.
August, August is August, September, October, November. October is the end of the fiscal year. So we just started our August, September, October. Yeah. So the beginning of August is the beginning of the fourth quarter in the government fiscal year. So I think we're going to see a lot take place in the next couple of months. I know that probably isn't super exciting, but it is, in that I think we're actually physically seeing movement now. Always before, it was a lot of testing, and every time they would test, something would go wrong, and they would go right back to the beginning. And they're not going back to the beginning anymore. They're just finding the hole, or they're finding the problem, they're fixing the problem, and then they're moving forward from that place forward, right? And that's a pretty big shift from my perspective that's taken place over the last probably 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks. So I am frustrated, but I'm also excited. And I think a lot of this political stuff it's all tied together, because it's all going to be exposed. It's all going to kind of happen and be unveiled or revealed kind of all at the same time. And we've talked for a long time about, some of the geopolitical stuff being kind of a smoke screen for the RV. And we're now starting to see the geopolitical stuff really ramp up and really come to fruition, where people are going to be held accountable. There is going to be a lot of chaos and confusion, and that confusion is a great way to slide some of this stuff in. There were, with the big beautiful bill, there were 3 other bills that went into effect at the same time. There was the Genius bill, and then there were 2 others, and for life of me, I've got to write them down somewhere, because I keep running across them and then I forget to write them down. But there were 3 bills that went in with the big beautiful bill, starting with the Genius Act, and then there's 2 others. There's 2 other acts. They're not bills, but 2 other acts that went in. They voted down the central bank digital currency, so the CBDT, central bank digital currency. So that was a big bullet that we skated there. But I am excited. I'm a little frustrated, like most of you, but I am excited. So
Dallas, real quickly, on the tarmac the other day, Trump was talking and asked a question, and he said, and his response was something about August 1st, the payments will begin. What is your opinion he meant on that? I know I saw something that Juan mentioned, something that it's something to do with the IRS and giving back the money that was stolen to us. What is your thoughts on that?
My understanding is that it's connected to the Doge payments, and that's part of, the reallocation of these funds, right? Remember all the executive orders that Trump signed that said if you were part of, trafficking, crimes against humanity, or voter fraud, or voter interference. Well, guess what? All of your stuff gets seized and it gets put back into the system. I think that's what he's talking about. I think he's talking about the initial Doge, the initial Doge cuts, with the help of JD Vance, got pushed through. So I'm hoping that we see, Social Security increases, Medicaid increases, and some of those Doge payments coming out at the beginning of August is what I'm hoping for.
Awesome. Thank you, Dallas. Okay, guys, we're going to let you guys start asking some questions. So if you guys have questions for Dallas, please feel free to start raising your hands. I will unmute your mic. I have unmuted a few mics. So let's see. Shell, now your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Dallas your question. Go ahead,
Hi.
Shell, now. Hello.
Hi, Jenny and Dallas. Thank you for everything you do. My question is about the straw man account. I don't understand where it originally came from, where the funds came from to go into those.
My best understanding is that when we're born, it goes back to the maritime system, right? You go to the doctor and you're delivered, right? Or you're birthed, right? When you build a new boat and you put it in the water for the first time, that's called birthing, right? It goes back to the maritime laws. And when we're born, we're given a Social Security card with our names in all caps. Well, all caps means death. And so the birth certificate is basically lost at sea, right? Or kind of a POW. And they take those birth certificates and they start trading them. You ever notice how birth certificates are batched? So depending on what state you're born in, birth certificates or Social Security numbers start with, my wife's Social Security number, for instance, she was born in New Hampshire. Her Social Security starts with 001, right? They're batched. And originally, they're traded on the black market, stock market, in batches, right, based on our Social Security numbers. But as you grow and you apply for a driver's license, well, that adds value to that particular stock. If you apply for a marriage license, that adds value to the stock. When you get a job and you start paying Social Security or income tax and Social Security, well, that adds value, and then they break them off into other batches, or kind of like bonds, and we are traded like cattle on the black market, and it's done by the elites. And it originally started as kind of a shell game for them, just to have fun and make a little money. But it's a derivative of the fact that none of our tax dollars go to the United States. All of our tax dollars for the last 100 and some odd years have gone directly to the Vatican and directly to London, not the city of London, but the inner city, the city of London. And those are all being supposed to be given back to us, but it's a black market trading thing. If you get married, if you go into prison, all the prisons now are for profit. So if you go into the prison system, well, guess what? Your stock just went up, because now you're literally an employee of the state, right, or the government, and your time served equals amounts of money and things like that. And it's a really, really corrupt backroom deal that and the numbers are always different. You hear different things, but when you're born, it's supposed to be injected with like $1 million or something like that, or 10 million or something like that, and it grows over time. So some of those strawman accounts are literally worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, depending on success and failure and things like that. So I think that's a part of, they're probably going to lump it into the Doge things, but they're going to give it back to us, is what I believe.
Okay, so that million or 10 million that is in there at birth, where is that coming from?
It's just an arbitrary number. I mean, it's kind of like the bill that Trump passed a couple of months ago, that every new U.S. citizen baby born is going to be supposed to be receiving a $1,000 grant or something like that to go for college. it's kind of that same concept. They just put it in there because the fiat dollar is not tied to anything. It's not backed by anything. So they just put it in there and they trade it on the back, in that black market on the back side of the market.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
So real quickly, Dallas, back to the August 1st. I'm reading here on some of the questions here from Snazzy Cat. She was asking about August 1st. We'll be very, what do you think Trump meant by August 1st? We will be very happy if we're citizens. This is when he was talking to the reporter. So what do you think he meant by when he said citizens? Do you think that, again, refers back to the Doge?
Yeah, I think it's we the people, the citizens of the United States, and or possibly the citizens of the new global alliance. I don't know, but I think he was specifically talking about United States citizens.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, let's see. Here's another one. Debbie Lou says, I just bought $1 million worth of Dong. When we revalue, what do you think that will be worth in notes? Thank you and God bless.
I mean, obviously it's all speculative, right? I mean, I was told several years ago for somebody that was a part of the original SKRs back in 2013, 2014, that with the Golden Treaty, the minimum value of the Dong was supposed to be set at 75 cents, the minimum. So, at a minimum, I think we could look at 75 cents. In reality, I think we're looking at $2, $2.50, possibly as high as $5, but somewhere around that $2 range is what I think. So if you have $1 million, that would be $2 million.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, go ahead, Tammy. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Tammy. Tammy 6274. Oh, okay, bye. She's out. She left. All right, Earl Howell, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Thank you, Jenny. And Dallas, my man, I've got a question. When the Philippine president talked to Trump the other day, he gave him the key. Is that key to the Rodriguez Trust?
It could be, or it could be the Solomon Trust, because that's supposed to be housed in the Philippines.
But I was thinking the Rodriguez was in the Philippines.
I think part of it is. I think the Rodriguez Trust is actually, there's several trustees that supposedly have access to it. None of the ones you've heard on any of the podcasts or any of the Truth Earth channels, those are all frauds, but there are several trustees to the Rodriguez Trust. But my understanding is that the Solomon Trust, which theoretically could be the Rodriguez Trust, is specifically housed in the Philippines.
Right. Well, I just got excited when I seen that because I thought it's going to be close because I know Wolverine and Mike Bear both said private jets are going into Reno. And so that even got me more excited.
I know there's a lot of movement around the world. Reno has kind of been, they haven't been taken out of the mix altogether, but there was so much leakage and information coming out of Reno that was honestly, it was messing up the process, right? So they've been pulled back. They haven't been removed, but they've been pulled back. But there's still things happening. But there's that same information could be said for several of the other locations around the world that are even more important than Reno. But I do know that people and things are moving, and that excites me. I just, like all of you, I wish it was yesterday, but hopefully it's in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I thank you, Alice, and Jenny. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Earl. Since we're talking about the reevaluation of the Dong, can you maybe touch a little bit about the other ones, like the Bolivar, Zim, and then where we're at with the Iraqi?
Yeah, I mean, again, what I'm learning is that nobody knows, because I get all kinds of weird numbers, random numbers. The last number I heard on the Boulevard was like 30 to 40 cents, which I've said for the last several months. Like, I would be absolutely happy with that, right? Would I like more? Absolutely, but
is that minimum? Is that the minimum or the max? Okay.
Yeah, 30 to 40 cents on the minimum. I was told several years ago in a live chat just like this from somebody from Venezuela, that 3 to 5 is what we should be looking for. But I'm trying to take all the information and I'm trying to weed out what I consider to be garbage and take in some new facts and some new information that I had not necessarily heard or been told before. And I'm trying to figure out where the median is, like where the truth is, right? But I just, are we going to get, I'll put it this way, are we going to get $80 per dinar? No, I don't think that's even remotely possible. Lots of people say, well, it's the price of oil. Well, it is, but it's a fractional price, right? It's not a one-to-one price. 1850, I think, is a really, really high number. Shabibi, when he talked, in the World Economic Forum and rolled out his plan for the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar back in 2013, 2014, 2012, whenever that took place. I mean, he talked about, $8 or $9 being absolutely reasonable. He could see it as high as 1850, possibly 20. But I think, I think if we get 4 to 8 on the dinar, we should be absolutely doing backflips. The number I keep hearing on the dinar right now in the testing is 481. So that's right in, that's between 4 and 8. I think that the dong is going to be roughly half of that. So if the dinar goes for 4, then I think we could look for the dong to be somewhere around 2. If the dinar goes for 8, well, then the dong could be higher, right? It could be 253, maybe even 4, right? The bolivar is the wild card because there's still a lot of corruption within that country. The country itself is incredibly wealthy. It's just all being controlled by the military dictator that controls that. So there's got to be some changes made within Venezuela. But again, that currency is so cheap. Nobody bought one Sobrano, right? Nobody, because at one point a year ago they were selling for like 49 cents a piece, right? So you spend $10, you got a couple million, right? I mean, you're not a couple, you got 20 million. Well, 20 million times 40 cents, that's a pretty big number, right? So I think we just have to be ready for it to not quite be as high as some of the numbers we've been told. But at the same time, we also have to be willing to say, well, is that the best, right? And one of the things that I heard last week, because I really did, I unplugged pretty hard last week on purpose because, as you guys know, this is all I do. I mean, this is what I do. And outside of my ministries take up, 80% of my time, and the other 20% is taken up by this, right? And this pursuit of knowledge and truth and wisdom, especially in the world of RV. And I just want us to be, educated, but I also want us to be smart, right? And one of the things I heard last week was the redemption centers. The one thing we can't do is go in there and get pissed off if they tell us that the rate on the dinar is 350, right? You go, so-and-so said it was going to be 1850, and so-and-so said it was going to be at least, Dallas said it was going to be at least 8, right? Well, that's not what I said, right? What I said is I hope and I think it could go between 4 and 8, but we also can't go in there and they try to offer us 10 cents, and we're like, well, I've heard for a couple of weeks, if not months, it's been testing at 4, right? Like, can we get closer to 4? But we can't lose our cool. We can't freak out. We got to be respectful. But at the same time, we can't be suckers either. So I realize I just contradicted myself, but go in there, be professional. Above all, be courteous. I had a thought the other day, right? Have you guys all? Well, I mean, I'm going to ask a question that I don't necessarily want you to respond to, but
Dallas, real quickly, I need to address something here. So I'm going to say this right now, Buckeye Gal, you want to come in here and you don't like what you're hearing, there's an exit button. Don't come in here and tell my guests they're full of shit, okay? So now you will be blocked and banned from the channel. Give him a chance to finish speaking, but you cannot come in here and be disrespectful to my channel, my guests, or myself. So I will be blocking you. You will not be coming back in here, but don't come in here and say that again. Dallas, I don't know if you saw that down there on the bottom, but before I remove it, you just check it out and maybe if you have anything you want to say to it, but I'm going to block.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah. So just for all of you, any of you, you're not saying this, you guys, but we have people that come in here that are like this. If you know Dallas is coming on, if you don't like what he says or whoever the guest is, don't come in here. There's no need to come in here and be rude and disrespectful. I will ban you. I will remove you. I don't deal with bullshit. You guys should know that by now. So I don't deal with this. So we will say goodbye to this individual. But yeah, I just wanted you to look at it real quickly. If you want to have any comments, but go ahead, Dallas.
Well, I mean, I thought I did answer her question the best I could. I mean, I'm not a straw man expert. That's not, it's kind of crypto. I've been pretty open with everybody. Crypto, digital, that's not my specialty. I am just now, the last probably 3 or 4 months digging into that side of things. And every day I learn new things. I'm not the straw man expert. So if you want to get specifics, then you probably need to go find somebody else. But my understanding is that when we're born, there is an amount of money put into our account, our strawman account, and that is traded. They lump them together, and I told you that originally they lump them by our social security numbers, which is why they're batched, right? So you get a batch of 100,000 social security numbers in what we would consider to be a bond, right? If you went and bought a bond or a mutual fund. And then that's traded. And as people go through their lives and they either have success or failure, those values get increased, right? If you are born in the hood and you grow up and you become a professional basketball player and you sign a contract, a 5-year contract for $20 million, well, then guess what? Your strawman account goes up, right? Because you're now worth $20 million. And before that, you weren't worth hardly anything until you made money. All of us are like that, right? When I was born, I probably had, and I'll be honest with you, I probably had a low value because my mom had a basic degree and she worked a 9-to-5 job, got paid very little. My dad was a school teacher, right? Who, let's be honest, we all know school teachers don't make billions of dollars. So out of those two people being my parents, I grew up I was born in a very, very small town in southeastern Colorado with virtually no upside. So my original value is probably pretty low, but I moved from Colorado. I moved to Texas. I got a degree. I got into finance and I started making really good money. I got married the first time to a woman that had no degree and was a bartender. In essence, a waitress. And as a couple, we didn't make a lot of money. We weren't married very long, but we didn't make a lot of money. My second wife has a degree and has had a full-time job since the day she graduated from college, technically before she graduated, and has made pretty decent money in her career. So as a couple with our marriage license, we are a more valuable commodity within that strawman bucket, right? To my understanding, that's how the money comes. That's where the money comes from, and that's how they determine your value, and they just arbitrarily add value when you get a new license, when you get a new job, when you get a new career. If you go through a hard time, right, your stock might actually downgrade, right? How many times have we seen a company, Enron, right? Enron was the leader in the world, and then they imploded. Well, how much is a one single share of Enron stock worth today? It's worth nothing. But at one point, it was worth hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, right? What happens if Tesla, which is trading at $500 or $600 a share, what if Tesla goes bankrupt? Well, you can have all the shares you want in Tesla, but it's going to be worth nothing. It's the same way. This is the same way the strawman account works. You could increase value or you could decrease value. The problem is that we were never designed to know about it. So, those that speak from a stance of absolute authority, I particularly think they're probably making up most of what they say. I try not to speak from a point of end all be all. I know this for a fact, because the reality is that I can't say that. I know some things for facts, but I don't talk about those things very often, right? But if you disagree with something I say, ask a question. Don't say I'm full of shit, because, well, if you know more than I do, then start your own channel and start your own podcast and get out and share the information. It's kind of my stance on it.
Well, see, that's the thing that, yeah, they don't have the audacity, the balls to come up here and talk to you about it. They write it in a comment. So they're gone, so they won't be any longer in here. But you guys, that's just an example. This isn't the first time this has happened. I mean, fortunately, I don't get a lot of that, but when I do, I'll remove it, because it's not necessary. We take the time out of our days and nights, whatever it is, and we do this. We bring this to you guys, and nobody's telling you that everything that we say is fact. You got to listen to us. Go do your research. Don't believe it because I said it or Dallas said it or anybody said it. Go do your own research. It's out there. Plenty of the research is in our faces these days. So, but I will remove you and I will ban you from my channel because I don't deal with that kind of bullshit. So thank you, Dallas, for addressing that as well. And we'll go on to some questions.
Yeah.
All right, John, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, John. Your mic is unmuted. All right, everybody. If you guys request a mic and I mute your mic, please be mindful. Dallas has an hour and a half that he gives us typically. So respond. If it was an accident, I understand. But I'm going to go on to the next one, guys. Okay, Rob Evans, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Rob Evans, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted. Oh, boy. Do we have some trolls in the house? All right, Rebecca, I'm going to unmute your mic. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rebecca. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Rebecca. Really?
It's a
Rebecca,
little blue button. You got to push the blue button and turn it green.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, Dallas.
Hello.
I have a question. For the RV, as a Puerto Rican U.S. citizen, do I need to go to Puerto Rico?
No, not if you're a legal U.S. citizen. You can RV here.
Okay. Even though I was born there, but I'm a U.S. citizen.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Puerto
As
Rico
long as
is
you're,
part of the United States, so.
yeah, as long as you're a legal, legal citizen of whatever country you're in, you can RV there. If let's say I went to England on a work visa. I don't know if you need a work visa to go to England, but I'm just using it as an example. If I'm there legally, I could RV in England. Would I want to come back to the United States? Possibly, because I think the rates might be a little bit higher here because if nothing else, Trump is demanding, to be at the top of this thing. But no, if you have legal status, you are fine. You don't have to go back. The only people that have to go back are the people that are here illegally.
Okay.
You have to go back to your home country, but you're good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Jenny, for everything you do and your guests.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for being here, hon. Okay, here's a good question for you, Dallas, on the wall. With the legal system from Walter, with the legal system changing, will that negate all current documents such as wills, trusts, power of attorneys, etc.? Will those documents need to be redone under constitutional law? Great question.
Yeah, my belief and my understanding is that yes, right? I mean, will they all immediately become void? No, right? We'll all have time to restructure them, and some of them, especially trusts and wills. It's literally just changing some of the verbiage and getting away from the maritime verbiage and and changing the maritime verbiage inside of the will or the trust to common law or constitutional law. So those changes can be made readily within the existing formats. Some of them, if they're not a really strong version, you might have to redo it. But most of them should be able to be ratified within the existing structure.
Thank you, Dallas. Okay, here's another one from Angel. The tariffs start on August 1st. Therefore, don't we have to revalue of currency because some of the countries can't pay tariffs until that's done?
I think that is definitely part of the draw out, right? I mean, if you think about what's really been taking place over the last 2 months, because I'm really focused on the last 8 weeks, all of the talk, specifically from Trump and his administration, have been about the tariffs, but it's also always followed up with fair and equal playing ground, right, or level playing ground. So I do think that they're tied, and I am hearing that this week, through the rest of this week, into next week is the final kind of testing. I'm checking my calendar real fast because, so yeah, through the rest of this week and through next week, the final testings and the final run-throughs are being executed, and money is being moved and put into place where they are in the accounts. They're just not accessible yet. And so I am hoping that come August 1st, that will be a big breakthrough, right? It's almost kind of it's a bad analogy, but kind of a crack in the dam where all of a sudden the money, the water starts flowing through, and the more the water flows through, the bigger the hole gets. The bigger the hole gets, more water comes through, and eventually it breaks through, and it just breaks through the whole dam, and then we're off to the races. So I am very much looking into the next 2 weeks to see some pretty significant movement. So I'm the tariffs, it's not all tariffs, right? We've already made $80 billion off the tariffs that Trump has already put in place. The tariffs that go into effect on August 1st are all the new deals that he's been signing over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. So I think we're in for a good place.
All right, thank you, Dallas. All right, here's a couple more on the wall, and then I'll go here to the hands raised on the front. Kathleen asks, hi, Dallas. Thank you for your time and all of your information. My friend invested in currency, but her husband has asked, why have currencies that revalued always go down? I share it because of controlled financial system, but would love your insights.
Well, I mean, currencies have gone up and down in value throughout time, right? Some naturally just through ebbs and flows of market flow and trade and different agreements, and some have been artificially modified or restrained or reduced, like Iraq, right? I mean, Iraq was devalued by us. We devalued Iraq's currency so that we can invade them and we can take their resources. Let's call a spade a spade. Kuwait was devalued by Iraq so they could invade and take their resources. And then when we freed Kuwait, their currency revalued back up to what it was. That's what we're expecting at a minimum with Iraq. So at a minimum, I'm expecting the Iraqi dinar to revalue for at least 322, because that's what it was before we devalued it almost 25 years ago. Now, if you factor in inflation, which inflation again is a byproduct of not being backed by assets, but if you factor in inflation, cost of living, and cost of goods and all those things, the value should be higher than 322, but we should absolutely expect at least 322 if it just reinstates, right? Goes back to the original value. But most of these currencies that we're talking about have been either artificially or purposely devalued, and so we are expecting them to increase in value. Some currencies might devalue, but not the primary ones that we're talking about. Those have all been devalued. Trump has talked about Vietnam specifically and artificially devaluing their currency to positively impact trade deals for them and kind of hurt their trade deal, their trade partners. Trump wants Vietnam to revalue their currency to a fair and equitable rate so that when we do these trade deals, when we do these tariff deals, it's all in the up and up. So some might devalue, but the majority of the ones we talk about are going to increase in value, including the US dollar. If we go asset backed, right now, $1 US is really worth about 13 cents, which is why property values have skyrocketed. That's why cars have skyrocketed. That's why food has skyrocketed, because it takes more dollars to buy the products, because our dollar is technically worth almost nothing, right? If we go asset backed and $1 is worth $1 of gold, well, now it doesn't take $400,000 to buy my house. It takes $250,000, which is what it should have cost from the very beginning. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you, Dallas. All right, here's another one. The last one I'm going to read on the wall. It says, thank you, Jenny and Dallas. We are seniors. Hubby still has to work. He is an employee. I am retired. We have worked since we were kids. This year, we are getting letters from the IRS, and we owe them money from 2021 to 2023 due to my Social Security income. We have been unsuccessful on reaching them by phone. I heard they are corrupt and they are and paying is voluntary. We don't know if we are being scammed or if this is real. We live paycheck to paycheck. What do you suggest?
Ooh, well, I mean, obviously, this is for entertainment purposes only. I am a financial advisor, but I'm not giving financial advice, right? This is really between you and your husband. I mean, my wife and I argue about paying taxes all the time, right? Because she wants to file her taxes, and I'm like, no, I file yours. I'm not filing mine. But I honestly, in good conscience, I can't tell you what to do, but I would say that I would just hold out. If they're trying to tax you on your Social Security, I mean, what is one of the things in the big beautiful bill? No more income tax on Social Security, right? So if they do away with income tax, then why would you owe on something that is now tax free, right? So I would just, my unprofessional advice is I would just hold tight. You've done your due diligence. I would record every time you call them. I would write down on July 23rd at 3:57 p.m. we called and got an answer machine, or just rang for 5 minutes and then disconnected the call, right? So you can show, hey, we were trying to address this, but I mean, let's be honest, there's almost nobody working in the actual Internal Revenue Service anymore. My cousin-in-law, I guess, he's a husband of one of my wife's cousins, works for the IRS. His political views apparently have changed a little bit. So we didn't talk politics at all while I was in New Jersey. But if you're calling and they're not responding, then what are you to do, right? So I would just hold tight, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, everybody here on the front side, I'm going to be calling your name. So time to vacate. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Dallas your question. Hit the blue button in the middle of your screen. Time to vacate. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to press that. I just got on, so I accidentally
No
put it
worries.
on my okay.
I love your screen
Thank you.
name. I'm ready to vacate too.
Yeah, I've been in Hawaii for 9 months. That was my vacay. Now I'm going
Oh
back.
man,
Nice.
jealous.
All right, Miss Cal,
That
your
was
mic is
one thing I
unmuted.
guess
Go
I
ahead.
was going to ask. Wait, I'll ask
Okay.
this real quick. If there was any revaluation centers in Hawaii, that's kind of why I came back.
I would assume because they're part of the United States, but Hawaii is its own little world. And what I'm hearing is that they want to not succeed, but they just want to go back to being their own autonomous, kind of place. But I would assume because they're still part of the United States that there are at least, on the big islands and, the big cities where you could, take a little puddle jumper and get over to one pretty quickly. But I don't know that to be a fact, but I would assume.
Thank you, Dallas. Thank you, time to vacay. All right, Miss Cal, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi, I had to get out of my car for a minute. I don't know if somebody asked this question, but if there is something coming with this Doge on the 1st, I don't know what, it hasn't come publicly that the, Federal Reserve has gone down, but when we have to see that happen first and get back on the gold back before anything happens?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, they could give us a reprieve in fiat dollars until that is made public. But what I'm hearing, and again, this is, it's it's hearsay until it physically happens. But what I'm hearing is that sometime between now and the 1st of August, we're supposed to have some kind of formal or public announcement of the USM.
What is the USM? Excuse me, I'm not following.
That's the new that's the new asset-backed gold and silver-backed US note.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, thank you. I didn't hear if you'd answer. I already been asked that. I had to step out of my car, but
No, good question. Yeah.
Thank you, Cal.
Bye-bye.
All right, Scott Hicks, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, Scott Hicks. Push the blue button.
All right, am I on?
Yep,
There you go.
you're there.
On now. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Thank you guys for having the show today. I certainly appreciate it. All the information is a blessing. My question is basically around my son's future. He's 14 years old and wanting to start a small business, but it's probably going to have to be listed under my name, which I'm retired now. What kind of conflicts do you see with future taxation, licensing, and so forth with the new monetary system coming in, and what kind of laws may change that will allow him to actually operate a business?
Now, you said he's 14.
Yes.
No, that's awesome. That's incredible. I'm expecting huge changes, right? Gift taxing to change, and no more income tax and things like that. So, in the meantime, I would file it as an LLC under you and make him an employee, and then pay him. Find out what the limits are, but I think you can pay up to $5,000 a year, and it not be taxable, not be reportable income. And then anything above that, I would just keep in the LLC and let them use through that. But again,
Yeah.
I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, but that's what I would do.
That was pretty much my understanding. All right, now he is becoming a crypto wizard. Which
that's awesome. I mean,
it's just
look at what
exciting.
XRP has done in the last week, right? I came home to my digital wallet doubled, right? So crypto and digital that's where we're going, right? Earlier today, I interviewed Lewis Hearn, who is more well known for Screw Big Gov and the Freedom Tours, I think, what they were called, but he is running for governor of California. So if you live in California,
I heard that.
I would definitely look him up, because if nothing else, that dude's a straight shooter, right?
Yes,
he rubs people the wrong way sometimes, but he is trying to do this the right way. But he said something about AI, and I was like, I never thought of it that way. But AI is coming, right? We can't avoid AI. So we've got to dive into it head first, and we've got to become experts in AI so that we know how to counteract the garbage, right? And it's all the AI videos that are coming out on social media, like the Sasquatch guy, right? Like I think those are hilarious, but it didn't dawn on me that those are 100% AI generated. So who's behind it, right? Is somebody good behind it, or is somebody bad behind it, right? So I think the digital side of this is the exact same. Like that's where we're going. And I drug my feet for a very long time, and I was pretty open
as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, another question, quick question. Now you said you're fairly new as far as your interest in the crypto area.
Yeah.
I know the circles that I listen to and folks that I speak with. Could you just kind of have a little bit of your personal input into, say, like XRP and XLM, and maybe a little bit about Bitcoin, and that'll take care of my questions for the day.
Yeah. My understanding is that XRP is going to become the foundation of our new transferring system, right? It's going to be the primary way that we move money and that we become our own banks. It'll be instantaneous. It'll be, within seconds instead of weeks or days or weeks. I think XRP is critical. I think XLM is a big part of this. There's something called it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. There are 7 specific cryptos, and I for the life of me I can't think, but I want to say Stellar is one of them maybe. But what you want is to find cryptos that either are or are slated to be asset backed, right? Because we want to get away from the problem with Bitcoin is there's nothing backing Bitcoin. Bitcoin became popular because of the internet and because of just this explosion of interest, and it shot it up. It was once 117,000, I think, is what I saw yesterday. But it's just like our fiat dollar; it's worth nothing. So unless it becomes asset backed, and I think that if Bitcoin sticks around, I don't think it will, but if it does, they're going to have to tie it to an asset, right? One way or the other, in order to give it some kind of intrinsic value. But I think XRP is critical. I think Ripple is a huge player in this. The one thing that I will say, the one exchange that I've been advised to steer clear of, or to do your best to steer clear of, is Lobster. And again, I don't know all the ins and outs and the details, but apparently there's some questionable leadership within that group that run that particular exchange. I use Coinbase. I'm not saying that it's the end all be all. I wanted to use Ledger, but there are in Texas you can't buy certain cryptos through Ledger, so I had to go outside of Ledger to buy XRP and XLM because I couldn't do it because I live in Texas. As some of those regulations and those restrictions are lifted or altered or changed, then we should have pretty free access across the different exchanges and the different wallets. But I think you just stick with the core ones that everybody's talking about. I'm not a big hey, this one's going to go up 2,000% in the next 48 hours, but you got to buy now, right? Like when I'm given ultimatums when it comes to spending money, I tend to withdraw and go, I'll wait, right? I waited on XRP, but I could have got it at 50 cents or 75 cents or $1. And I actually tried to get it at $1. I called my friend Trina and I said, hey, I know I have stonewalled you for almost a year, but I think I need to buy XRP in the next 24 hours because it's going to go up over $1. And as I said it, it went to like $1.50, right? So so I got it. I think I got my first batch at like $1.36 or $1.20 or something like that. But it's going to skyrocket pretty soon. It's already gone up. I mean, it's 336 or whatever, 350.
Yeah, it's
So,
going down right now, and it will be the bridge coin of the world, everybody. It's going to be where we can do instant transaction. It's going to get rid of a lot of the middleman, like your escrow companies, your mortgage companies. I'll be able to buy a house peer to peer with smart contracts. Dallas peer to peer, he and I, and it will take just a matter of seconds to happen. So when I say our workforce is going to change dramatically, it's going to change dramatically. The middleman is gone, collecting all these dumbass fees. They're going to be gone. So people need to be prepared for that as well. But it will be the bridge coin of the world.
and I think we're going to see one more big dip in XRP. And if you can't, obviously my financial advice is never put yourself in harm's way financially to jump on something, right? But if you have the ability, watch for the dip. You can put in, like, one of the things I like about Coinbase is you can put in, kind of low bid offers, right? So I can say I want to buy $500 worth of XRP, but I don't want to buy it unless it goes to a $1.60, right? And if it drops to $1.60, then that initiates that transaction right there. That's one of the reasons that I like Coinbase. It's much like the stock market, right? You can put in high and low bids. You can put in a bid to sell it, right? If it hits 401, sell 30 shares, right, or whatever. But I think we're going to see one more big dip, and then once the USN is announced and the asset-backed currency is announced, you're going to see it skyrocket up. And where it's going to go, I don't have a good number there, but it's going to go up.
And just know, everybody, once XRP is gone, it's gone. You won't be able to get your hands on it anymore. So, and Troy, we'll get Troy back on here. He's good with the XRP. He's very knowledgeable about it. So I think it's been about 2 weeks since he's been on here. I think he was actually on here last time with you, Dallas. So I'll get in touch with him. We'll do another XRP space. So, okay. So we got a few more questions here. Grandma of 5, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to ask Dallas. Of course, there's been talk about the Bolivar and deleting zeros, whether they did, whether they're going to, or whether they're not going to. And also, I wanted, once before he had told us about the calculator, which does the conversions for us. And I wanted to ask him if he's checked that lately.
I have not checked the calculator. It's funny you talk about it, I'm like, oh man.
Check
it. But what was the first question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I done got you excited now. No, I was asking, are they going
about
to
the
drop?
zeros.
Yes.
What I was told from the person that was from Venezuela was that because they've had so many variations and so many versions, and they have, I mean, it's inflation just skyrocketed out of control, that it would be too complicated and too time consuming to add, subtract zeros, that it's just kind of one-to-one, face value is what I was told. Is that a fact? I don't know, but it makes sense to me. One thing that I did read, I have several documents from the IMF, and technically, according to the IMF, which is the International Monetary Foundation or Fund, it is illegal to subsequently add or subtract zeros from any currency after it's been published, after it's been distributed. So if you take that and you say, well, you can't arbitrarily add or subtract zeros from a currency that's already been distributed, then that tells me that that's not an option, right? That legally they can't do that. Plus, again, it would be so confusing and so time consuming, because there was one year where they had 4 different versions of their currency within one calendar year, right? So, well, are you adding zeros to the first batch and subtracting from the second? Are you adding from the first 2 and subtracting from the second 2? It just, in my mind, that's just, you're asking for absolute pandemonium, right? Plus, something that I was told or I heard this week is that the slated time for the redemption centers is somewhere between 12 and 14 minutes is what they want. They want us to get in, get our currencies, verified, get the exchanges done, and then we're out. And then we'll come back at a later time to talk about humanitarian projects and things like that. You can't do that in 12 to 14 minutes if you're doing all these complex, adding and subtracting. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So again, I'm not telling you that I know for a fact, but what I was told was that they realized that it'd be too confusing and too time consuming, and that they're just not going to do that.
All right. Thank you, Dallas. Thank you, Grandma 5. Okay, Lib, you're still here. Okay, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Lib.
Yes. Hey, thanks for doing this, y'all. Quick question. Well, on the XRP part, just for an FYI, I have mine on the Ledger Nano S Plus. Is that pretty good?
Yes, I use a Ledger cold wallet or dry wallet, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, it's very confusing because I think that other guy that y'all have on, Jenny, says that Coinbase isn't good. So it's very confusing on all this. But my main question is, or concern, I guess, I was on with Mark Z last night, and your preacher was on there, Jay. Isn't he your preacher?
Yeah, he and I do Essential Church together. Yes.
Okay. Well, from what I understand, from what I heard, there was a lot of text or posts going back and forth as he was talking. But it sounds like to me he thinks the med beds are bad. Have you heard him say that?
I can honestly tell you we haven't talked about it. I'll give you my personal take on it. I am very much looking forward to the med beds. I think the med beds could be, man, this is a challenging question. There's technology that has existed in the past, like if you've ever read about the Tartarians,
yes,
and ancient civilizations, they had technologies. There are hieroglyphics in Egypt and in the Grand Canyon that show spaceships and what look like cell phones, and there have been fossils that have been recovered that are basically spark plugs, right? So we have had technology. I've seen a picture from the early 1800s of electric vehicles plugged in New York City. They had motorized scooters in the 1800s, that they used, and the world fairs, and all that stuff. So I think that there's technology out there that has been suppressed and hidden from us. I don't think. I would say if I was going to say something that I feel like I know for a fact, I believe 100% that technology has been suppressed. I can absolutely see where if the wrong people were in charge, med beds could absolutely be a negative thing. I just don't believe that to be true. I think there's two sides to every one of these coins.
Yes.
And I believe that there's a positive med bed experience that's out there. Jenny talks about it all the time, but there's direct correlations to sound frequency, light frequency, medicinal herbs and medications. They can reverse and eradicate almost every disease known to man. The problem is that those have all been destroyed and suppressed, right? I watched a deal yesterday where a guy took sound frequencies, ran them through a speaker under a microscope that had water on it, and playing different sound frequencies, and then separating the different levels. He overlaid them. He made prints of them. He overlaid them, and it was a perfect image of his daughter. It looked like a picture, right? Like a Polaroid picture. And that was created through sound, right? So I believe that there are positive med beds that are already, if nothing else, in manufacturing or have already been manufactured, and that will be accessible to us. I very much look forward to getting into a med bed because I had beat my body up literally my whole life. I played football from the time I was 8 until almost graduating college. So I played football for 17 years, and I've been a professional wrestler for 25. My body is broken. My left shoulder is crushed. It's almost a half inch narrower than my right shoulder because I crushed the bone in it. My clavicle is permanently dislocated. My right bicep is almost torn in half. I've got 3 broken vertebrae in my neck. And who knows what's in my lower back. I've never had an MRI there because I don't want to know. But I very much look forward to getting into one. But I'm not going to just walk in and just jump in, right? I'm going to ask some questions, and I'm going to pray about it. Before I go, and while I'm there, I'm going to be praying nonstop. And if God tells me that I'm not supposed to get in as much as I want to, then I'm not going to get in. But Jay and I have not talked about it. I'll bring it up. We'll see each other on Sunday. But I think he is more. Jay is a healer. I've watched Jay heal people, heal cancer, heal arthritis, heal all kinds of things right in front of my eyes. I've been there, and I think that it's in my opinion, it's one and the same source, right? God is obviously his source of healing, but I think God can also be the source of healing in these other technologies, as long as, again, the source is from the right place, right? And that's the good side. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but what I was hearing him say last night, he was kind of putting the med beds in with crystals and tarot and all this other, questionable Christian whatever, and it just, I hate to say it, he really turned me off when he started doing that. I just, because there's been so much talk about the med beds, and there's a lot of hope out there for people. I'm a breast cancer survivor, and I'm bone on bone knees. I could go over a laundry list of complaints too.
Yeah.
It really got me frustrated. But I did think about you last night because I've heard you talk about your shoulder and your knees and whatever. So so I was very excited I was able to get on to ask you this, because I had no peace of mind last night, because he really frustrated me. I'll be honest with you. He really frustrated me last night.
Well, I can guarantee you that wasn't his intent. I think that what he's afraid of is people putting their faith in something other than God, right? For healing. And in my mind, it's one and the same, because I think the technology and the ability to heal come from the same place, right? Back in the day when you went into the inner sanctum, or the inner, the holy of holies, they wore a breastplate that had 12 different stones on it, right? Well, some of those stones were crystals,
Well,
right? And so, I think, again, I cannot, I will not put words in his mouth, but I think he's just trying to make sure that people go into this with the right mindset, right? I'm going into it with, I believe God wants to heal my body so that I can go and I can do my humanitarian mission work
Yes,
for
I
another
agree
10 or 15 or
wholeheartedly.
20 years.
Yes, yes, exactly. I mean, I know God knows my heart, and I know my heart, and I have every desire to do the right thing by other people. And just a real quick story. I was coming back from
Lib, hold on a second, Lib. I've got some other hands here, and I've got Captain Kyle I got to get prepared for, so I got to get to some of these other questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Lib.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. All right, Miss Pam, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Pam. Your mic is unmuted. All right, Nancy, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi, Dallas. Met you in Bowie with my son. Anyway, when we first got into this currency thing, it was because our neighbor came over and told us about it, and we didn't know how to buy any, so he bought some Vietnamese dong for us, and then we paid him. So I don't have a receipt for that, and it's a decent amount. So are we going to lose that, or is that going to work?
No, you're good. What they're looking for is people to walk in with suitcases full of it, hundreds of millions. Hey, where did you get this? Right?
Okay.
So you're good.
Okay. When we have the receipt from him, the check written to him, but not for where he bought it.
Yeah, no, that works. Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
I've wondered about that. Thank you guys for being there. We listen every week.
Awesome.
Thank you, Nancy.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, John, your mic is unmuted again. Go ahead. Ask Dallas your question. Go ahead, John. Hit the blue button in the middle of the screen. You requested a mic again. John from Kansas. All right, that's it. I got to move on.
Sorry, Jenny.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean it. It just accidentally hit it. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Okay. Prayer warrior, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hello, how you doing? I'm glad you're taking my question. This is about XRP, and I just wanted to know. I hear about all these people talking about stacking. Can you tell me what that means?
I can't speak in depth about it. No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So everybody here that's asking Dallas about the XRP and stuff, he has mentioned many times that's kind of not his wheelhouse. He doesn't know about it, but that's not really his wheelhouse. He's more the RV, the currency. So I will get Troy back on here. I will reach out to him today to see if I can get him maybe scheduled next week or as soon as, because he's got a day job, right? So as soon as it works with his schedule, I'll get him scheduled on here for those of you that have the questions regarding XRP. All right. Thank you, Prayer Warrior. All right. Go ahead. God wins. Your mic is unmuted.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you, Dallas. I just have a real quick question. I got in the last part of a podcast today with a guy named Shelton. Do you know who he is in the projects room?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think about that? Because he was talking something about if you have Zim, and you're wanting to exchange, at a redemption center, you have to have all this paperwork and stuff. And to get it together, you can, add him to your list of the trust or something. I don't know about this. Can you give me your valued opinion, please?
Yeah. You don't have to have a trust to go in to do the redemption, first and foremost. But a lot of what he talks about is just having a plan for the money, right? I mean, one of the things that I've heard him talk about is the 30, 60, 90 day plan. So in the first 30 days, like what are the absolute essentials, the must-haves? Like, do you have a car that barely runs? Okay, you need a new car, right? Are you living, in a rundown apartment? You need to get a better apartment or a new house. That would be 30 days, 60 days, and then 90 days when you start working on your humanitarian projects. how are you going to go about it, right? So a lot of his stuff is just about kind of pre-planning or having a plan written down, which I agree with wholeheartedly. I've said it many, many times on this podcast alone that, if you don't have a plan, you're doomed to fail, right? And but he has developed a very big network of groups, and he has 360 some groups, and each one of those groups has many people in it. They've done a lot of work in like pre-planning and getting their trust set up and having their their team leaders for their accounting and all that stuff. I don't particularly believe that you have to have all of that. Plus, what accountant is going to write you a plan and you say, well, I don't have any money, but when I get paid, I'll pay you, right? I mean, very few people are going to work for free, right? So there's really good things that he says. He has some really what seems to be real time or current time information on what's going on in the planning process and the testing process, and getting this RV across the line. But I don't particularly subscribe to all of the, you got to pay for this, you got to pay for that, you got to pay to join this group and that. I'm not sold on that part of it. But really his primary message, from what I have ascertained, and I've listened to a lot of his calls. I didn't listen to a call today, but it's just about having a plan and being able to go into the Redemption Center and let them know that, you're not going to go blow, $10 million in the next 90 days buying silly things and be broke, right? I mean, it's, what is your plan? How do you plan to maximize and utilize this money? Do you plan to help, your family first, your community second, your state third, your country fourth, and then the world fifth kind of thing? But just take it with a grain of salt. It would be my advice.
Okay, so you don't have to have it all written out the way he explained it to be able to go to the Redemption Center to cash in your Zim. Is that correct?
I do not believe so. No.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate that.
Godwins. All right, thank you, Dallas. Okay, I have one more question for you, Dallas. All right, Mo, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm in the UK. So where would I go to exchange my Dong, Zim, and dinar things, Bolivar?
My understanding is that the once it's released, right, they'll either be in the United States. I've been told there are 800 numbers, but there'll be contact numbers or websites where you go and register, and they validate you are who you say you are, and then there'll be centers. I mean, the UK is so much smaller than the United States, right? The United States is huge, so there's many more redemption centers in the United States. Plus, there are more currency owners in the United States than there are of all of, Texas has more foreign currency owners than all of the UK combined, right? But in the major cities, there'll either be banks or standalone redemption centers, and when that information is released, it will be disseminated pretty readily throughout these channels and channels, locally, because it's going to be a worldwide thing. So we just got to kind of remain patient, but at the same time, when it comes, even if there's an 800 number that you call in the United States and say, hey, I live in the UK, hopefully, I would assume, because they put so much energy and so much effort into this, I would hope that they would contemplate that question, right? Oh, well, yeah, you call this number, right? And then you would call your local center, and then they would schedule or tell you where you can go. But each country will have its own process, but it'll have its own centers as well, from what I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Dallas. And everybody, thank you for being here. Dallas is here every other Wednesday. So Dallas, we'll see you back here in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Hopefully we got some really good stuff to talk about in 2 weeks.
Well, I think let's cross our fingers, right?
Absolutely. And do me a favor. Trina and I discovered this week, or she discovered that Rumble, you're not a part of the algorithm unless you have like a channel name. So if you could do me a favor and go look up Hero, HERO 1776, and subscribe to that channel, because we're trying, we've worked our tail off, much like Jenny has, over the last 2 years, and we're stuck at 4,000 followers. I believe that our audience is much bigger than that, but we're not a part of the algorithm, or we haven't been, to get more eyes on us. So if you could go and follow that page, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. We're going to have Zester on, is the plan, this Friday, Mark Z's son, talk about crypto, because that's not my world. But yeah, if you do me a favor, go follow that page. That would be a huge favor to me personally. Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
then every
Dallas.
2 weeks, right here on the Revival of America podcast with Jenny.
You know I was gonna kick your butt. And then everybody come back here like what 5:30 Central Standard Time. We'll have Captain Kyle on for his every 2 week show, live Q&A, and I know Captain's gonna have a lot of great things to say. And then we're gonna have Sheriff Matt come on. We've got a gentleman coming on from the Faith. What is it? The Faith Council over there from the White House. So I'm scheduling that. I think that's going to be August 4th. So trying to figure out if they want to do lives or if they want just to do a one-on-one with me recorded show. So I think Sheriff Mack will come on live so you guys can ask him your questions. But a lot of great things coming on, everybody. So head on a swivel, everybody. We'll see you here within the probably, what is it? 2:30 my time. What is it? 4:30 your time. So 5:30 Central Standard Time. In an hour, everybody, Captain Kyle will be back on right here. The Revival of America on Telegram. Thank you, Dallas. God bless you. And I'm glad you guys had a great time on your vacation and you're home safely.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
All right, sweetie. God bless.